Marie-Joseph Palliez wrote Gilbert de Montoya de Lafayette, Marquis de Lafayette. When asked about his name on September 6, 1757, responded with, "It's not my fault. I was baptized like a Spaniard, with the name of every conceivable saint who might offer me more protection in battle." This quote was found rewritten by Christopher Klein in the article 10 Things You May Not Know About the Marquis de Lafayette, found on History.com, published October 20th, 2015. I find that Lafayette is one of our most interesting and least talked about founding fathers. And after my speech, hopefully you will agree with me. First, I will tell you about his early life, living pre-Revolution France. Second, I will tell you about his role in the American Revolution. And third, I will tell you about his life once he returned to France after the American Revolution. According to ushistory.org, an article titled "Who Served Here? The Marquis de Lafayette," copyrighted 19,000 to 2017, Marie-Joseph Palliez Roche Gilbert de Montoya, Marquis de Lafayette, was born in 1757. Before his second birthday, his father, a colonel of Grenadiers, was killed in Minden during the 7 Years' War. At the age of 12, his mother and grandfather both passed away, leaving him very young and very wealthy. On April 9th, 1771, at the age of 14, Lafayette entered the Royal Army. When he was 16, Lafayette married Marie Andrine Francoise de Noailles, I'm butchering her name, allying himself with one of the wealthiest families in France. In the same article, we find that Lafayette first learned about the American Revolution from the Duke of Gloucester at a dinner party on August 8, 1775. Lafayette later teamed up with Baron Jean de Caleb, and together they got written agreements from Celestine that they would be commissioned as major generals once they got to America. Now that I've told you about his life before he got to the war, I will now tell you about what he did once he got to the American Revolution. According to ushistory.org, in the article titled "Who Served Here? The Marquis de Lafayette," copyrighted 1999 to 2017, he landed near Charleston, South Carolina on June 13, 1777, and when the leaders learned that his mission was to in fact help the revolution and not to invade, they welcomed him with much hospitality. They opened him graciously into their homes. Later in the summer, he went to Philadelphia, and Congress welcomed him as he came to serve without pay and as a volunteer, which many people weren't okay with when they were from higher ranks, social classes. Many of them wanted to be put into being generals right away. Since he represented the highest rank of French nobility and his motives were so patriotic in the American cause, the Congress commissioned him as a major general on the 31st of July. Later in the summer, he met General Washington, and they developed a close friendship between the two men, which would last as long as Washington were to live. He did all this before his 20th birthday. During his first battle, which took place at Brandywine, he was shot in the leg while leading a retreat. It was because of this action that the American army they still lost the battle, but the casualties weren't quite as great as they could have been. According to the same article, Lafayette spent most of his time during the early war at Valley Forge alongside Washington, improving his war tactics, and connections within the colonies. After proving his usefulness and dedication to the American cause, he was granted permission from Congress to return to France on October 1st, 1778. During his time in France, Lafayette worked hard to secure supplies and support for the American cause from his French allies. On October 19th, 1781, the American troops, with the support of their French allies, forced British generals Cornwallis to surrender, marking the final battle of the Revolutionary War. Now that I have told you about his role in the American Revolution, I will tell you about his role in the French Revolution and how he spent his final years. According to Encyclopedia.com, in the article titled Marquis de Lafayette, copyrighted 2004, when Lafayette returned to France in 1782, it was as a hero. Washington's friend, he was called, and he was made a brigadier general in the French army. He was in charge of a brigade. From his time in the Americas, he became fond of the ideals of enlightenment and believed that France should convert to a constitutional monarchy. Also found in the Encyclopedia.com article, it states that between 1787 and 1788, he served as a member of the Assembly of Notables, and then in 1789 took a seat in the States General as deputy of the nobility of the district of Rayon. Lafayette's political reputation as a freedom fighter might have been what saved him from execution during the takeover of Bastille during the French Revolution. This is when they took all the important people like Marie Antoinette and King Louis XVI and beheaded them or threw them in jail. In the article Marquis de Lafayette, it is stated his efforts to hold the revolution to a moderate course proved more and more unavailing. His popularity was dissipated, and his command of his troops to fire on a mob in July 1791 led to his retirement in September from command of the National Guard. However, the onset of the war against Austria and Prussia in 1792 brought Lafayette's return to military life as the commander of the Army of the Ardennes. He was also held a prisoner of war in Austria for some time, and he was later exiled from France by Napoleon. He returned to France in 1799 without permission from Napoleon, so that isn't exactly good. He retired on a military pension and lived the rest of his days in his country estate at Langres. His lifelong dedication to liberty won him the nickname the Hero of Two Worlds. He died in Paris on May 20th, 1834. So I've told you about his early life in pre-revolutionary France, the role he played in the American Revolution, and a slight role that he played in the French Revolution, and how he carried out his final days. And those are just some of the reasons why I find the Lafayette is one of our most interesting and understated founding fathers. Hopefully you agree with me.